Hey everybody, welcome to St. John Bosco in Bellflower, California. This is a road off-date edition of Rapid Reaction brought to you by Buyers Auto. I am Austin Ward. This is Jeremy Birmingham. So Ohio State's off. There's no Buckeyes game to break down and give you this content. So we took the show on the road to talk to a couple Ohio State commitments, a couple big-time targets for them out here in Southern California. A couple have been on this field a lot. One committed, Kourt Williams, the wide receiver Beaux Collins. A couple very impressive kids, but Birm, we talked to all four of them over the last couple days out here, and really I guess all four of them are impressive kids. If you look at how they fit in for the Buckeyes or would fit in, what has been your number one takeaway from our visit out here?
The thing to me is how confident all these kids are. It's so different, I think, than football used to be 10, 15 years ago, where you knew that when you left high school that there was going to be that gap where you needed to develop and time to prepare yourself mentally for college. Like, all these kids are super impressive people and also football players. Clark Phillips, when we went to La Habra High School to talk to Clark, and I'm telling you, the vibe you get from that kid is just different. Like, he knows that he's walking into a situation at Ohio State where there's likely to be 4 new starters in the secondary in 2020, and he is sure that he's going to be one of them. And it's just awesome to see that kind of confidence, but also to see it from a kid who's not arrogant. And I'm telling you what, I've said it over and over in the last year plus on Lettermen Row, and every time that there's a new commitment, it's one of those things I say. I can't believe how just good the kids are that are coming into the Ohio State program, and seeing Clark Phillips and seeing Kourt Williams and getting a chance to talk to Beaux Collins here at St. John Bosco and CJ Stroud over at Rancho Cucamonga. It's just great kids.
I don't need to deal with the recruits on a day-to-day basis the way that you do, but I've been around enough and I've gone to do enough features with them to know when the kids are carrying themselves differently, and it's not just lip service. As you mentioned, Clark Phillips, who we talked to on Thursday out here in California, and is extremely impressive kid. He had teachers coming up to him, didn't know what we were there for, talking about this mock trial that he was working on and all of his academic stuff. Kid was extremely impressive, and by the way, a heck of a football player. His coach told me this story about how he loves football so much that he'll take any rep. He sometimes has to pull him off the field because he'll be out there trying to get the scout team defense, and Clark Phillips will be lined up playing cornerback. They can't get anything done. They don't need him to take those extra reps, but he wants them so badly. And as you said, I mean, sometimes it seems like the praise is over the top for the kind of kids that Ohio State is recruiting right now, but these that we met out here in California certainly lived up to it. You know why Brian Hartline, Jeff Hafley, Ryan Day, Mike Yursich, everybody, why they've been so blown away by these 4 kids.
And why they've spent so much time out here. I mean, you could tell just talking to Collins and Kourt Williams and Clark Phillips and CJ Stroud that group, like, they just have a sense that they know exactly where they stand with Ohio State. They know exactly what they're looking for in a college. And I think it just makes my job, obviously covering recruiting, so much easier when the kids are that way. I mean, they are I don't want to say, they're over the top respectful in a lot of ways. I mean, Clark Phillips, I'll go back to it over and over, I'm sure, over the next couple of years as we cover him at Ohio State. But when we walk into his school, and there's 3 guys there, myself and you and Will Crawl behind the camera today, like, that he has never met any of us in person. I've talked to Clark obviously on the phone and in video, but like, he was so comfortable. And it's very hard to explain, because the average teenager today is just not that way.
So when you look at this, Birm, and this was something that I asked the kids about, nobody really wanted to talk about it. You can understand why. The current kids that are in high school that grow up in Southern California are not just going to walk around bashing USC, even if they are committed to Ohio State, as Phillips and Kourt Williams were. But part of the reason I think that Ohio State is out here, and you've detailed this with other parts of the country,
sure,
USC and UCLA are struggling. Where we're standing right now, this is a pipeline to the Trojans historically. When they've been at their best, this is the school that's helping feed them. And with them being down, Ohio State's going to go recruit the best kids regardless. But if there is a possible weakness, you can see why they'd be coming here to try and rob USC or UCLA to the strength and betterment of them.
Yeah, the Buckeyes did that in Texas in 2016 and 2017. They did that in Tennessee and Georgia in 2014, 2015. Used to always do that in Florida when the big 3 were down out there. And the reality is Ohio State's brand right now is so national that it doesn't matter that much, because they're going to be able to open a door no matter what. But it's different than it used to be in the fact that of the 4 kids we spent the last 24 hours talking to, CJ Stroud mentioned USC in passing as a potential spot to take a visit. Beaux Collins mentioned that he was probably going to spend some more time there visiting there. But Clark Phillips said it was never a consideration for him. And Kourt Williams, it was never a consideration for him. Maybe it's just kids who want to expand their horizons and get out of LA. But the truth is, for Ohio State to be competitive on a national scale with Alabama and Clemson, the Buckeyes are going to have to recruit this part of the country, because as demographics shift, there's way too many people out here. So you know that there's a lot more recruits out here, and you mentioned it, but Jeff Hafley has been incredible out here. Ryan Day started it 2 years ago with Chris Olave down in San Marcos, and at this point, Ohio State is as big a brand here as they are anywhere else.
All right, we'll take a quick break here for a word from our sponsors and some special insight, and we'll be right back as Rapid Reaction from Byers Auto rolls on. All right, everybody, as we roll along here on Rapid Reaction, brought to you by Byers Auto, got the one and only Wavy Dub, Wyatt Davis, back at his alma mater. Wyatt, I mean, this place feels like it's a college already. How does St. John Bosco get you ready for the next level?
Oh, I mean, they do a great job of preparation. I mean, my offensive line coach, Coach Adams, got me right as soon as I got here, and even my freshman year, even though he was with the varsity, when it was my time to come up, he was really doing a really good job at already teaching me things. I mean, he was a 4-year starter at Oregon. Yeah. So, I mean, his knowledge of the game and his technique is out of this world, especially at the high school level. And a lot of the stuff he teaches is advanced, which is why we have so many offensive linemen, even in this class, that have Division I offers.
What's it like to be back? I know you have just a limited amount of time. You're in the middle of this season with the Buckeyes and have your sights set on that national championship in Big Ten and everything down the road. To get home, everybody here knows you. Lots of hugs all around. What's it like just to get back for a weekend?
Man, it just brings back all the memories because, like you said, we're in the middle of, especially now, it's about to get that tough stretch. So, it's also what Coach Day talks about during these bye weeks. It's important to, get separation from everything so you're not just in this small circle, just football. And, coming back here, it's really special, and it brings back all the memories.
So
it makes me feel really old.
We've been out here for a couple days. You've got the palm trees by your stadium out here.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Like, we've been covering you now for a couple years in Columbus, but it feels like sometimes it's got to be hard for some of these, the Braves out here at St. John Bosco to leave. Like, you could go to a Pac-12 school and stay in the nice weather, but it feels like more and more people are making the same decision you are, and you got Kourt Williams on this field tonight. What is it, what is it about the chance to go away from home and that Ohio State offers something that you guys want to leave here and go out to the Midwest?
Well, this is kind of my thought process, and I feel like it's the same thing kind of with Kourt. I mean, I haven't talked to him about it, but it's just that whole idea of, you're going to go to a college for 4 years, you're going to be putting in hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into the program. So why do all of that and not have the opportunity to compete in the playoffs or play in big-time games? And that was my perspective in high school. So when those big-time schools came in, especially when Ohio State came in, it was like a done deal. I mean, because, what's better than coming out of your tunnel and you see pouring rain and a big-time game against Wisconsin, and you're coming out after that first half and everyone is still in the stands. Like, there's nothing else like it. So I feel like that's probably a lot of the reason.
You're still dressed for Columbus right now.
This is actually what I literally just got out of the airport not too long ago, so I still got the cold. But I'm a soft Cali guy, man. I'm cold all the time.
Come on, big slob up front.
Oh, I'm cold all the time.
All right. What else will you do for the next 36 hours before you get back and back to business at home?
Probably eat 30 In-N-Out burgers, and then probably try to repeat that again at some point. So I'm gonna try to do that in the morning.
Gotcha.
And then at night I'm trying to eat another 30. But I'm also gonna try to spend a little bit of time with my family before I go back for the 4th time on Saturday before I leave.
See, I know that Coach Mick watches this though, so you might be in trouble. But Wyatt Davis, he's got a fun weekend planned. It's great to hear a little bit about St. John Bosco from him, an alum of the program. It's homecoming for the high school here. Great for him, and we'll stop bugging him and let him get back to his weekend. Appreciate Wyatt Davis joining us quick here on Rapid Reaction, brought to you by Byers Auto. All right, Birm, so if you look at this, and you touched on, Hafley, and we know what Ryan Day's impact has been with quarterbacks, I think the player that most everybody is interested in right now is CJ Stroud, and then the quarterback recruiting situation with Jack Miller and Ohio State needing to take 2. You've written about that a number of times at Lettermen Row. What was your feel when we left Rancho Cucamonga on Thursday? Watched him throw a little bit. We know what he can do physically. Did that in the Elite 11, the opening finals. What's your read on this situation?
I mean, I told you as we were standing there watching him that he reminded me of the way that Dwayne Haskins looked on the field as a high school senior. Just it's a confidence that is kind of lackadaisical in a way. It's like he's not a big, there's no bravado.
Yeah.
But if you talk to CJ, I mean, that's the first time we've talked to him in person. And I was sort of just struck by how overwhelmingly confident he was for a kid that 4 months ago nobody in the country had heard of outside of this area.
Yeah.
So I get the sense, and I truly get the sense, nothing changed in the way that he feels about himself, and I think that's really impressive. The biggest takeaway was that I have to take it with a grain of salt, okay? He knows who we cover. He knows we cover Ohio State. So maybe there's a chance that there's some lip service involved, but it really felt to me like he's a kid who wants to go to Ohio State. And I don't know that means he's going to. Obviously, there's things in the air. Jack Miller, one of them. Michigan offer recently. Michigan does not have a quarterback commitment. All the other schools that he's really considering do, which is Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, USC, they all have a quarterback. So you know he's not afraid to compete. Every school he's considering other than Michigan, when that's a brand new entry into the recruitment, already has somebody there. So I got a sense that the kid was extremely confident, but I also felt like he was tipping his hand a little bit in respect to how he feels. I mean, he talked about his visit for the Michigan State game and how Ohio State just as a place blew him away, and how he never experienced anything like that, and how he didn't understand what rivalry meant or what really football passion meant until he visited Ohio State. And that can be really hard for a kid to just dismiss. And I think that obviously this is recruiting. It always comes down to relationships. It always comes down to comfort. If Ohio State can make sure that they don't drop the ball as far as developing the relationship with him while maintaining Jack Miller, I think that he ends up committing to Ohio State. There has been some back and forth in the last few days. There was a report from another website that said he wasn't going to sign until February. He dismissed that outright.
He flat out said to me when I talked to him that there was nothing wishy-washy about it, that he was going to he had an extra load of classes that he was looking to sign in December and enroll early somewhere. Yeah. And he also made it quite clear that whether Jack Miller or any other second quarterback is committed to the Buckeyes, he is not worried about that. Right. When he detailed, going at early July to Frisco to compete in that, he expected that kind of performance. He thinks that he is the best quarterback in the country. You talked about it kind of being a laid-back Cali mindset for this kid, but he is clearly a competitor when the chips are down.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid of Jack Miller.
His coach told me, and we're here in Southern California, Mater Dei High School is not too far from here, where Bryce Young, who's committed to Alabama and is the number one ranked dual threat quarterback, the number one ranked pro style quarterback, played on this field, DJ Ugalele, I don't know how to pronounce his name. But CJ Stroud, his coach, Mark Verity, told me he thinks he's better than both of them and thought he was a year ago. And that's not the coach saying it. CJ thought he was and said, I'm the best quarterback out here. I beat them in the opening. I'll beat them anywhere. And to me, that's kind of exactly what you want.
The weird part about his rise is that he didn't start as a freshman or a sophomore at Rancho Cucamonga. He was he still was a 3-star. He had offers, and he told me that, if the opening had never happened, I kind of laid out this weird hypothetical for him. It's like, I'd be staying somewhere close to home or maybe a Pac-12. It's not like he was not on the radar on the West Coast, but now you're talking all the way to Georgia, all the way up to Columbus.
The physical schools are evident. The physical skills are evident. And now it's about figuring out a fit. In Georgia, he said he's going to be visiting there probably next week. That's what he said, but we'll see how that plays out. He did say an Ohio State official visit will happen in December so that he can have more personal time with the Ohio State coaching staff rather than showing up on another game weekend where the Buckeyes are distracted the whole time. And I think, to me, that speaks again to what he's looking for, which is to make sure that what he felt in Columbus on his first visit for the Michigan State game is followed up on, because he mentioned it over and over. He wants consistency, and he wants to know that he's being told the same thing every single time, and it's not one thing one day and another the next.
All right, it's Rapid Reaction brought to you by Buyers Auto. We can't get out of here without talking about the current season that's going on for the unbeaten Buckeyes, and we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week in the practice report, Birm, but if we're going to focus on the quarterbacks, why not? Justin Fields said earlier in the week that he was still a little bit sore with that back that was looked at late in the Wisconsin game, but the same sort of deal from a couple weeks ago with the off date. He wasn't skipping any reps. He was adamant that he was going to, Ohio State before gave him the option. Do you want to rest? Do you want to recover? He said, no, give me all the reps as normal. Yep. Same situation for him this week. I've been really, really impressed with the toughness of Justin Fields.
There's an opportunity for every kid to know that I'm good enough that I can take a time physical reps off and just focus on mental reps. And it's just not that time yet for Justin. He still has only played 8 games. I mean, this is a kid who needs every single rep he can take. And I understand there's a mindset among some fans who maybe think, well, Chris Chugginoff might need to get reps. I hate to be the one to break it to you. If Chris Chugginoff is getting a ton of reps in a game moving forward in this season, it's probably not going to matter for Ohio State that much. And I don't. Chris is a fine quarterback. He's shown the capability to handle the offense, but I think that it's pretty well known that Justin Fields makes or breaks this season for Ohio State. So every rep that he can take, especially even if it's an off week, if he wants to rest, let him rest. If he wants to take the reps, nobody's hitting him. You're not worried about him getting hit in practice or his back getting dinged up any more than it was against Wisconsin. So, yeah, I mean, he's a tough kid, but you also know that he's a competitor and he just wants to play.
What's kind of crazy about this Chris Chugginoff situation, if they have to go to the backup, is that, I thought early in the season, we got that question a lot, Lettermen Row question of the day, and I thought, well, it drops them down. I mean, maybe Ohio State then becomes an 8-4, 9-3 team. And the deeper that they've got, I think Ohio State could win the next 4 to 5 games with Chris Chugginoff. As good as the rushing game has been, as good as the offensive line has played, with the weapons that they could still find ways to exploit it on the perimeter, and with the best defense in America, they're going to be in all those games against both Penn State and Michigan. They're going to wipe the floor with anybody at quarterback against Maryland and Rutgers. So it's kind of like it does drop the ceiling for Ohio State. Obviously, you don't lose Justin Fields with his 33 touchdowns in his first 8 starts
and one
suffer.
Interception.
But that's like, it almost doesn't matter for them in my mind until they get to the college football playoff and face truly elite competition. Maybe I'm wrong about Penn State in that situation. But
I think it levels the playing field in those games and maybe makes it a toss-up in both of them, especially playing at Michigan. That's a difficult environment. But certainly Maryland and Rutgers, if Ohio State was really interested in getting Justin Fields some rest, they could probably do that in the next 2 weeks. So, but that's not going to happen. They want these reps. They want him to have a Heisman push. They want the program to be operating on all cylinders heading into what they hope is the playoff run at the end of November.
Yeah, you can tell with the off date that Birm and I are starting to spin it forward a little bit, maybe fast forwarding to a couple weeks into November and things pick up.
We're allowed. The Ohio State team cannot.
We can look ahead, the players can't. That's fair enough. But we'll still have a couple rapid reactions of games before that.
Sure.
Maryland and Rutgers, we're not going to stop for that. Hey, we had an off date and we didn't want to skip it either. So for Birm, I am Austin Ward. Thanks for joining us for Rapid Reaction, brought to you by Byers Auto, coming to you from sunny Southern California. We'll see you next week in the Horseshoe.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got Rapid Reaction. Hey, and we got Buck IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Birm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.